Hello and welcome along to episode 5 of the Yorkshire Football Podcast. It's Tom, John and Matt with you today. The A-star team, I think, compared to everyone else.
Evening, Thomas.
Available.
It's quality over quantity today.
Absolutely. There's just the three of us, usually four, but as you say, quality over quantity. How are we all? First off, are we good? It's been a mixed week football results wise, particularly for you, John. You must be buzzing good as with how it's gone. We'll come to the review shortly, but
Indeed.
It's gone very well.
Yeah, mixed reviews all around, but certainly happier than I was in previous weeks.
Decent performance in the cup though. John, you got to take some heart from that. Everyone thought Man City would win 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 at Hillsborough. They didn't, only 1-0. Plenty to take from it. Surely you must be fairly satisfied with that.
Yeah, as a football fan, I'm pretty depressed at the moment, not going to lie. But I'd just like to welcome our listeners back, everyone who's subscribing to the podcast. Obviously, we're kind of a small budget operation at the moment, so we're grateful for anyone who takes time out to listen to us. It does mean a lot. If you ever want to kind of contact us on social media, ask us any questions, get any points across, do that. One of us will be sure to pick it up and get back to you. And that's my input. So
he's
let's
not
move on.
dwelling there, is he? Zero dwell time on that.
In terms of Wednesday, so today's feature, we're going to get onto it a little bit later, but it's kind of the earliest you've ever left a football game. And the reason why we've picked that this week is because at the weekend, sadly, I would say I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm kind of not. I left Hillsborough at 31 minutes.
Wow.
That is brutal. 31 minutes.
It's cold.
We've heard of half time. But yeah, that's what we're going to look at today. Earliest you've left a game as well. We've all got opinions on it. We've all got differing opinions on it there. But as John touched upon, keep subscribing. Tell your friends about the podcast. A new episode every week talking, I should say, all things Yorkshire football. We're kind of bouncing around various pubs in Leeds, although Editor's Draft we're in currently. Nice pub, nice pints as well. We've all got a nice variety.
There are other pubs available in Leeds. Just like to get that out there.
I don't know, until one of them sponsors us, then they'll get no praise from me. But yeah, so thank you. Spread the word. Let everyone know we're here as well. And of course, get in touch with us. We're on Facebook, Twitter as well. Any questions, any thoughts, you want to get your opinion on there as well, of course, we'll happily take that. But we've touched upon it there. Let's start with Sheffield Wednesday, because the reason you left on 31 minutes is because Derby, notoriously bad away record, came to Hillsborough and had a field day, didn't they, first half an hour?
We did. So last week, we got a last minute, 94th minute win against Charlton at home. And the optimist in me, that last bastion of being a football fan, kind of thought, this could be a turning point. We might actually go on a good run. We've got Derby at home again, a bad team who are in really bad form away from Pride Park. I thought this could be kind of a sign of better things on the horizon. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
So just a bit of context. Since the turn of the year, we've been 3-0 down at home to Reading. We've been 3-0 down at half time to Blackburn. We've been just absolutely woeful. And on Saturday, I just couldn't take any more. Once the third goal went in, I just upped and left. Now, I get a lot of criticism for this from people, but I think some football clubs and kind of managers and chairmen and the kind of guys that don't take into account is that it is a choice for a lot of football fans. So I've got little laddies too, and coming to the game on Saturday when I've been working all week, you work from 7 till 7, you get home on a Saturday, coming out of the house at midday to go to a game, not see him, it is a big thing. So it got to a point after third goal went in, I just thought, do you know what? On this today, I'd rather just go home, take my lad out, go on the park, forget about football now. I'll probably be back again this weekend. I'm a glutton for punishment. We've got Brentford away. I'm half tempted with the idea of going down. But I just say it's a poor time.
Tough fixture that. I can't see you capitalising on last week, to be honest.
Capitalising, yeah, I like that. Down in the capital. But then I thought, after the Saturday, I thought, you know what, we've got City in the cup. It's a free hit. Monk's got to come out now, and he's going to give it his all. Our team's going to kind of try and kind of force our will on City, and we know they're going to beat us when it comes to playing football. We know we're a million times better than us, but why can't we kind of try and attack them, try and beat them, try and kind of bruise them a little bit, get big new up top, maybe get Fletcher in as well.
You've seen Brentford lose out recently against lower opposition. I'd say as well. Was it Barnsley they got beat by the other day, or was it Luton?
Luton.
That's the one. Yeah. So,
talk us through that first half an hour though at Hillsborough. Nobody would know better than you, who was obviously there. Was it genuinely like a horrible place to be? Was it literally like a mass exodus of people? Because Sky picked up on camera, didn't they? Everyone just up in their seats and leaving. Did it feel like that? Yeah,
when I was walking out the ground, there was a good few hundred kind of leaving with me, just kind of shaking heads. When the first goal went in, it was a deflected goal. There was kind of the resigned feeling around the ground that it's happening again. The second goal goes in, a mistake from one of our players. I think this is going from bad to worse. Third goes in, and you're just thinking, this is it now, done. The atmosphere was toxic. By all accounts, we played better in the second half. But by this time, I was having a brew at home with my lad and watching Soccer Saturday. But no, it's bad. We seem to be one of those teams that just can't kind of concede an early goal, kind of regroup and come back and get back into the game. I think we've only come back from going a goal down once, which was coincidentally at home to Brentford. It seems that once we go 1-0 down, we just collapse.
It's a case of heads dropping. Happened at Huddersfield a few times this season, but I completely agree. Sometimes if you've not got the resilience, particularly momentum-wise as a squad, to come back from, even going 1-0 down, it's quite a worrying period. But I'll stick my 2 pence in later on about leaving a game early. But I can see the justification. But from a moral standpoint, people pay good money to go see their team on a Saturday, irrespective of how bleak it looks in the first 30. At least retain a bit of hope. But now I can understand the wider context.
And what made it it stung a little bit more that obviously we've been in the pub before the game and watched Leeds kind of put on a really good second half show, beat Hull 4-0, and just look kind of completely league above us at the moment. And this is a team who we beat at the start of January, played off the park at Hillsborough in the season, and kind of the differing fortunes it's just kind of immeasurable at the moment. So yeah, I think everyone's just on a downer. I think, to be honest, if we can avoid a points deduction, I think most Wednesday fans will take ending the season now where we are and we'll be quite happy with that.
I mean, if you can hear it, there's more noise coming from the kitchen than there was Hillsborough.
We're kind of upstairs, very happy kitchen staff here. About 6:20 on a Thursday. They know the weekend's coming.
Just hitting the high notes.
I wish I could sing like them, to be fair. You mentioned Huddersfield, actually. It's looking a bit bleak at Hillsborough, but Huddersfield season ticket holder, you're laughing at the moment. 2 wins in a row and a 4-0 drub and a Charlton as well. A screamer at the end chucked in as well, the perfect win.
Yeah, I gave a bit of an overview in the voice note I sent last week, but as Helinski said, Charlton was massive for us. In terms of a game to, come up against a team who Charlton, they've certainly dipped off since the start of the season. Bowyer looked an absolute hero back then, but as for now, they've really tailed off, plagued by injuries, so it was ours to win. And the way we went at the game, starting Fraser Campbell up front with, again, Smith Rowe in that number 10 position, which has been left void by Aaron Moy leaving. He's absolutely filled his boots and then some. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised with the result. I thought we'd win. And I said last week, I thought we were going to stay up after winning the game prior. But to do it in such a fashion, I've never seen us look that convincing. It's our biggest home win of the season. And to build on the first goal, the second, and then score late with Bakuna with that absolute humdinger into the top corner. It's just that bit of confidence we need, and it's everything we've needed to, particularly coming up against Leeds this weekend. Every Leeds fan absolutely licking their lips at that. It's a huge game for you. I'd say less important for us, but to increase that margin, we've got 5 points now between us and the drop. I think, perfect opportunity to build on it, and I can see us getting a draw at least there. But in terms of that game particularly, and Huddersfield in general, I reiterate what I said last week. Town are staying up. We've seemed to have a first 11 in place now that we can trust. Losel a lot better in goal than Grabari, who we brought in from Liverpool on loan. He's obviously been at the club during our high years in the Premier League. And then a difference maker for me, and this will be, again, a factor to consider on Saturday against Leeds, is our left-hand side. Last time we had Young and Flo Hadjian at left back and Josh Koroma at left mid, who's barely played any games for the club. we've brought in since Carlan Grant, who I've mentioned before on the podcast. He scored 2 last week against Charlton. Looks really strong on the left-hand side instead of behind the striker. And then Toffolo, who we brought in from Lincoln, who Danny Cowley brought in. And them two linking together was pivotal last week against Charlton. And because last time I had quite an inexperienced left side, I think it was Costa on the right. Obviously, Pablo Hernandez likes to drift about. I think it was who scored in the home game last time I was there. It was Alioski who popped up.
Wasn't it, I think? Yeah.
Alioski who popped up. We just looked weak on the wings, which is where Leeds tend to capitalise, particularly on the counter. Harrison just runs rings around most defenders, never mind a battered Huddersfield side. But yeah, coming back to this weekend even, we're in a much better place than we were back in December when we had the first leg, so to speak. And I think we can kick on now, and I'm confident we'll get at least a draw against Leeds. I'm going to predict Desmond. I think it's going to be high scoring.
Okay.
Desmond 2-2. And yeah, get your thoughts on that.
You mentioned actually staying up, right? I was going to ask, on a scale of 1 being definite relegation, goners, no coming back, to 10 absolutely definitely staying up, you're 10. Would you go that far? Saying that you seem confident that Huddersfield are staying up.
I'd say I'm rounding it up at the moment. I'm at an 8.7 currently if I was to drill down to the absolute minute detail. But I think, 8.7 out of 10, I'm confident.
A point or more at Leeds bumps it +9.
Absolutely, yeah. But the only thing that really puts me off at the moment is the fact that Wigan have just completely had this resurgence out of nowhere and seem to be playing really well. Some of the wins they've had recently, and how class some of their players look as well. I think Kiefer Moore scored 2 really nice goals at the weekend to a comfortable 3-0 win. Who was it against? Who did Wigan play at the weekend? I can't remember.
West Brom.
That's it, of course, yeah. Unbelievable. So I think that's the only thing that worries me is that Wigan just under us are finding points and they're on a good string of form. So we've got to match that at least. And I'm confident we can do. Leeds might be a little bit of a banana skin, admittedly, given the importance of the game for you lads, but I sit confidently at 9 out of 10 for us staying up, absolutely.
You mentioned Leeds. Leeds, of course, playing Huddersfield. Welcome them to Elland Road on Saturday. I imagine Adam Everington, who's not here, is going to be quite smug. He was talking bigging up Tyler Roberts last week, who, of course, came off the bench and grabbed 2 in that win over Hull. So he sent in his thoughts, and here's what he thinks on Leeds and their current state.
So not only did I predict that Sheffield Wednesday's playoff hopes would be dead and buried this week, not only did I predict that Donny would beat Wickham 3-1 and win the prediction contest, I also predicted that Tyler Roberts should come into the Leeds team for Patrick Bamford and he'd score goals, and that's exactly what happened as Leeds pumped Hull 4-0 away last week at the KC Stadium. First half, very scrappy, 1-0 with a very lucky deflected goal from Luke Ayling, but second half it was Leeds at the best under Bielsa. It was a joy to watch. And when Roberts came on, he really stamped his authority on the team. And I think he's a no-brainer now. He has to come in for Bamford. Bamford looks devoid of confidence. Roberts is finishing chances Bamford would have never finished. And he is a really good young player. And he's a player which a lot of Leeds fans forget we have sometimes. He's young. He's only 21, but he's been at the club 2 years. He's had a lot of injury problems, but he works really hard off the ball. He offers that aspect that Bamford is so well acclaimed for, but also he's a finisher. He's proven time and time again he's a better finisher than Bamford, and I'm ready to see him step in this week as we face a Huddersfield Town team who are coming in full of confidence. It's not going to be easy. Huddersfield games are never easy for Leeds at home. The local derby, Huddersfield will be well up for it. But if we play like we did in that second half against Hull, I can see a similar result as last weekend. As always with Leeds though, you just never know. We'll have to wait and see. But very positive after that result. Results going for us again with West Brom losing, Forest dropping points at Borough, and it's all looking good.
So Adam seems fairly confident enough as he can be. He's just such a pessimistic Leeds fan, and that's by Leeds fans' standards, having known him
absolutely
during his time.
Yo-yo confidence, though.
Absolutely. It's basically relegation or Champions League. There's no middle ground with him at the moment. Leeds 1-12 for promotion now, they're betting. They're 5 points clear. Having seen a lot of the Championship and kind of putting together the predictions for the end of the season, everything points towards Leeds. The models, etc., on predictions, one of them put 96% on Leeds finishing in the top 2. Their only top 7 game remaining is Fulham at home, so it looks pretty good. And Leeds go into that game at Huddersfield knowing they could have the opportunity to go 8 points clear because Fulham are away at Bristol City in the early kick-off. As Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday fans, does it pain you to just admit defeat in the conquest that Leeds have finally ended their wait for Premier League football? Because it just looks like it's going to happen at this point.
I'll let John go first because, I need to gather my thoughts on that.
No, it's not a problem for me. To be fair, apart from Sheffield United, I want all the Yorkshire teams to do well. I think having more Yorkshire teams in the Premier League, even if we're not there, it's still a good thing. For too long, kind of over 2000 and the 2010s, we've had the odd season where Huddersfield have been there, where United were there in the early 2000s. We had no representation, and kind of it pains me to see that kind of nobody teams in the Premier League, like your Bournemouth, your Watfords, Burnley doing well and doing really well, but the likes of like Leeds, Wednesday, Huddersfield, United, just kind of staying in the Championship or even worse. So no, to be fair, I don't mind Leeds as a club. The fans, on the other hand, are awful. just thinking of Adam Everington in particular. But no, there's no kind of sour grapes from me. If they do go on and do it, fair enough. They've been one of the best teams this season. I just wish we could have been kind of challenging up there with them.
It's got to be a bit of a sickener from a Huddersfield perspective, though, that if Leeds win that and go 8 points clear, not all but secures it, but puts them in a very strong position for promotion. Stood in the away end at Ellen Road, it's going to be a bit weird, a bit funny to see.
Nah, I mean, I said this when I came for the first episode. A lot of my friends are Leeds fans, so I've always had to look at them in, I wouldn't say a favourable light, but have some moderate appreciation for Leeds.
Respect?
Yeah, just in the sense that, yes, they are a big club. They've kind of faded off into mediocrity for everything that's gone off the pitch. And again, I agree with John's point. Leeds as a club and the stature and the infrastructure, yes, like they are Premier League. But their fan base has developed such an self-entitlement over the past decade. We've got to be back there. We deserve to be back there. And based on, I would say, the majority of the past decade, I would say you didn't deserve to be back there. The level of football you were playing, the signings you were making, the absolute in and outs in terms of the managerial appointments, I would say that it was, a bit of a circus club at some points. But now, however, I can look at it purely from admiration for football, admiration for a club that's, changed things around. With Bielsa, Leeds deserve to go up. Doesn't pain me to say it. Again, obviously, I'm not a massive fan of, Leeds fans, but if they go up, they go up, and they've earned it this season, absolutely.
And if they bottle it, you've got a lot of mates to take the piss out of as well.
Well, exactly.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, it is.
In a way.
It is a win-win, but I don't know, you look back at, being one of them lads who spent half of his summer just monging out watching Premier League years. You see, these footage of Leeds, in the early 2000s when Tony Eboa was knocking him in from 30 yards, and I think that was a kind of Leeds being back in the Premier League. It would remind me, I'd have a bit of nostalgia of when, the Premier League was a bit better, and I think having those big teams, Leeds away followings, the rivalries they have in the Premier League, they hate Chelsea, they hate Man United, they're not best mates Liverpool either. I think it would really hot things up from just an impartial, as an impartial viewer, just watching games in the Premier League.
Yeah, and as well, it probably goes for the football, maybe 1/3 of the city. Because everyone knows, obviously, Leeds are a big rugby league town, first and foremost. Then secondary, like a football town. And it'd be quite good for, all these teams that Leeds think they're rivals with. Your Man United, your Chelseas, who absolutely care not a jot about Leeds. But Man United, but Leeds obviously think they're big rivals with these clubs. So it'd be nice to see them go there, have a nice day out and stuff. So fair play to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this because I can imagine how Adam's sat somewhere wherever he's listening to this and he's just either thrown something across the room, punched a wall, etc. in anger, waiting for his response.
He's just sat in
a
dark room, rocking back and forth, as going Bielsa, Bielsa, Bielsa.
Worryingly accurate prediction, actually, to be fair. Another team going for promotion. We'll finish kind of our review bit by looking at Bradford. Mike was fairly confident they turned things around against Plymouth. They did. Here's what he's had to say on that result and, of course, the Bantams' current situation.
Whoa, what a win for the Bantams on Saturday. Last week on the podcast, I predicted 1-1. We went one better than that and beat Plymouth 2-1. We got a bit of a helping hand with Plymouth getting a man sent off in the first half. But what an absolute worldie of a strike from Dylan Connolly. The ball comes to him at the edge of the area. It kills it into the top corner. And then it's an absolute top bins. Put 3 keepers in net and they don't save that. In typical Bradford City fashion, we don't go on and beat a team 3-4-0. We had numerous chances to do so. Instead, we cling on. They get a further man sent off with 5 minutes to go. They're down to 9 men and they also score. But the most important thing is the 3 points. We go into Saturday now to Salford, to Moor Lane for the first time in our history. And what a huge game that is. Salford needs to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Salford have got the second worst home record in the league. We haven't won away from home since October, so I'm sure we're in for an absolute cracker. But something I mentioned on the podcast a couple of weeks ago is we are desperate. We need to win back-to-back games to really start putting that pressure on those playoff positions and to start making our own claim and start to try and claim our own spot within the playoffs. So we need to win on Saturday. We need to keep up momentum. That takes on to Leyton Orient home, so what an opportunity now to put a string of games together. But I'm looking forward to Saturday now. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's a sellout. And it's the Bantams on the road again. So come on, City!
So Bradford's promotion push back on track of sorts with victory over Plymouth. We'll start off. Did anyone read the Plymouth match report?
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh, it's spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. John, talk us through it for those who haven't seen it. How would you sum it up? Bitter would be a fair word, do we think?
Yeah, moaning like a pitch, I think, would definitely
very nice.
how I put it. Yeah, they weren't very complimentary of Bradford as a club or as a
I'll try and
as
find
a team, were they? To be fair, I think that's slightly out of order. Bradford are going to do anything they can to get... But no, Plymouth are above them in the league. Bradford are kind of rivals for promotion for the playoffs. The pitch was bad. These things happened like 20, 30 years ago. Well, maybe 30, 40 years ago, pitches like that were the norm back in the lower leagues. I know kind of in the Premier League, Championship, even League One now, we used to play on these carpets. I think, come on, it was the same for both teams. Ryan Lowe, the Plymouth manager, played on some kind of pitches like that during his playing career. Get over it. I think it just kind of sour grades. But by the way, what a goal it was to win the game. Was it the bender from 25 yards out?
Yeah, about 25.
Yeah,
nice knee slide on the pitch as well. Fair play to the Bradford staff for getting that game on, but the pitch was just atrocious, wasn't it? It just was not great quality. And again, through no fault of their own, I suppose it's the geography of Valley Parade, but it didn't look great.
A bit confusing in that, obviously, you've got Plymouth fans who would easily be 5 or 6 hours into their journey, only to read on their Twitter account that Bradford have decided to do a pitch inspection, or the officials that day even, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just 2 hours before kick-off. You've already, lumped petrol in the car, paid for your ticket on the coach, and you're 5 hours in, you see that. Can understand, to a certain extent, the bitterness from Plymouth. Had it been on their turf, or, more of an impartial perspective, it might have been that the game could have been called off. But for me, without Plymouth have been this season, the form they've shown, I think that situation is the only instance where Bradford could have won that game, is if it was played in absolute swamp as it was. But again, I wish Helinski was here to chomp at that. But yeah, I think you would be a bit annoyed if you were Plymouth.
The report starts with read nothing into this result. Argyle's defeat was as just as they come and should in no way detract from their performance nor for the prospects of winning promotion from Sky Bet League 2. The game played on a mess of a pitch was defined by the sending off of Argyle captain Gary Sawyer towards the end of a first half dominated by the Pilgrims after they conceded an early goal to Ben Richards' Everton. Just go on the Plymouth website, the report's still there. It's quite a read. But yeah, they're not satisfied, should we say, with the final outcome.
No, definitely not. Fair play to Bradford. Do you know what I mean? The kind of Mike and Dom have both been kind of negative about the season. They've tailed off a little bit, but McCall's come in, maybe this is what they needed. Maybe they needed kind of the Plymouth. Maybe they need someone like Plymouth kind of criticising them. What's McCall going to do for the next game? He's going to print it off, put it on the wall, and say, if this is what kind of everyone thinks about us, let's come together. Maybe it'll unite them. Maybe rolling about in the mud as a team, kind of get a little bit of camaraderie. Who knows?
Right, bringing up a point that was made earlier. Every episode on the Yorkshire Football Podcast, we like to have kind of a theme, a main thing to discuss. We spoke about recently was goal you've celebrated the most was last week's. There's kind of going to be a topic every week, and this week was brought up by the antics of John Riley at the Sheffield Wednesday versus Derby football match. Earliest you've left a game. First off, is it right? I want to know. I know you did it, but do you agree with yourself for doing it?
Yeah, no shame whatsoever.
Wow.
None at all.
Not
Wow.
one instance. No.
You've touched on it already, but give your case for the defence as to why it's okay.
Bullet points, please.
So, paid upwards of £30 for my ticket on Saturday. Could have spent the day with my son. Could have spent the day with my wife. Could have spent the day with friends, maybe a round of golf. But no, I chose to spend it watching my beloved Sheffield Wednesday. After 31 minutes, we're 3-0 down. There is absolutely no chance of recovery. I would have put my mortgage on the fact that we would not have come back. We did get a consolation in the second half, but it was by far too little too late. Why should I sit there wishing I was somewhere else? Not kind of contributing, not clapping, not getting behind the team, because they were giving me nothing in return. So instead of taking my negative energy and just letting it fester in the ground, I went home, had a cup of tea, cup of Yorkshire tea, big up the Yorkshire tea, and
Still not sponsored us.
No,
we really
no.
gave our backing to them last week. Thought they'd get in touch. Not yet.
I
Not
know,
yet, anyway.
like at Yorkshire Tea on Twitter. Come on, sort us out, guys. Yeah, I went home, played with my lad. I think we watched some footy. We watched a bit of Nemo. You know, just chilled out, and I was a lot happier. So no, I'm not 1 ounce of regret, I'm afraid.
We'll hear from Mike and Adam very shortly, but the shake of the head suggests there's an instant disagreement in the room. It's 2-1, and I think it's in favour of the argument you're going to go for.
Again, like I said earlier, I can understand surrounding factors for Paul Jonathan here. It's never fun watching your team get pumped behind and having to endure that. But for me, and again, I draw reference to us at home to Tottenham in our Premier League season. Granted, it's Premier League. Granted, it's a day out, bit of a cup final every game, providing the circumstances we got to the top flight. We were 3-0 down in the first half, basically. But in spite of that, most of the fans, there were a few grunts, were a few disgruntled fans. I can completely understand that, but the majority stayed behind and enjoyed the occasion for what it was. You've paid for your season ticket. You've paid for that individual
Very
game.
little for the season ticket.
and can I
as well.
Exactly.
Can I say, losing 3-0 at home to Derby is not an occasion.
Yeah. Which again, if you're gonna compare the two, granted it's chalk and cheese, fair enough. However, you've paid for that ticket. You might as well at least remain hopeful of some kind of result. In that situation, you're 3-0 down, like one goal. Teams with 3-0 up can grow complacent, and soon it's 2, and anything can happen, especially in the Championship as well, which is, games are so volatile, score lines can turn on a switch. It's just like that, and I don't know, maybe it's because in spite of results not going our way in the Premier League, I had to sit through quite a lot of dross performances and results, particularly in the second season. You've just got to stick it out, and I think you paid your ticket, you've got to back your team. In equal measure, obviously, you don't want to invest more time cheering your team on in return of the performance, but then how do you expect that performance to turn around if you're not going to then encourage them or give them any, sense of hope, or, even if it's just a case of just not getting on the lads' backs? Because that, for me, is quite a toxic element of football. And in all honesty, given how your season's gone, that game particularly, you've not really got anything. If you were fighting for promotion and you'd put a string of results together, and then that happens and it's a complete contrast to how you've performed already this season, I can understand that if it meant something. But in that particular game, it didn't really mean much. So, I don't know, why not just stick around and just try and encourage something from the lads? But that's where my point is.
So I know I sound probably like I'm in my early 20s, probably late teens. But I've actually reached the ripe old age of 33. And back when I was a young lad, I've sat through absolute awful performance. I mean, full 90 minutes. I've seen us kind of get done 5-6. I've seen us kind of be 4-0 down at half time. And I stayed there when I was a young lad, but that's when I thought, I've got something to prove. I got to an age now I think, actually, staying till 90 minutes doesn't make you a better fan. Doesn't mean that you're a more big of a football fan because you've left.
But does it not make you feel good though that inevitably Sheffield Wednesday will be promoted back to the Premier League, right? It will eventually happen one day. Next year, in 500 years, whatever. Will it not make you feel better though, as a person, as a fan, whatever, knowing full well that you stayed behind during the absolutely awful times and you're reaping the rewards? I mean, got to say it earlier about Leeds and their clown ownership, kind of the way the club was run for years. The amount of people who would have been during that time now are really reaping the rewards of this season where they could well go on and win the title. Yeah. Surely must make you feel better to stay through the bad times.
Yeah, but this bad times for me, I went to Russian and Diamonds away to watch Wednesday. Saw us get beat 5-1 away at Stevenage. Saw us get beat 5-1 away at Exeter. These are bad times, but that's when we had a team of lesser quality. The thing is now we've got a lot of players on big money, and the kind of connection between me and the team right now is probably it's the widest chasm it's ever been. I felt a much bigger connection when we were in League One, and now we were watching players, the likes of your John Paul McGoverns, your Glenn Whelans, your Chris Brunts when they were young and coming through. Even your journeymans, we had Lee Bullen, the likes of Kev Preston when he was coming to the end of his career, Dave Lucas. The connection was there. I could right now I could probably reel you off our team from 2005, 2003, 2004.
Yeah, it's 2020 there, mate.
And yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like now I don't feel any bad about leaving because I don't have that connection with the team. Whereas back then I'd have stayed and watched until the end. Whereas now I don't want to watch players on 30-40 grand a week getting done 3-0 at home by Chris Martin.
Chris Martin had 3 assists all season before that game against Wednesday. Got 3 assists in 30 minutes.
Embarrassing.
So fair play to him.
Embarrassing.
We'll carry on shortly. Let's hear the thoughts of Mike and Adam now as well. Fair to say that I think you've got more opposition coming up. But here's the thoughts of Mike and Adam, what they think on leaving games early.
Leaving early because of bad performance. Pretty easy one for me. Don't agree with it. I don't do it. If I would have left early on every bad Bradford performance or tough period or when things aren't going well, I don't think I would have seen much football, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, pretty straight. I don't have any experiences to share with you. It's just a case of it's not for me. John Riley leaving on 31 minutes on Saturday. That is an absolute disgrace. I hope you take a long, hard look at yourself and you are ashamed of what you did on Saturday. As Marilyn said, if you can't take someone at the worst, you certainly don't deserve them at the best. I'm just going to leave it on that.
Leaving early in a football match, it is the cardinal sin. I agree with Mike Alinsky on this. And it's something which I've tried to avoid doing through the years as a Leeds fan, even though there's been plenty of times where I have wanted to leave, go home and never watch a football match ever again. Some of the ones where I did leave early, well, actually, one of them's a non-Leeds game. I went to Holland v Peru in the Amsterdam Arena. I don't know if you've ever been to the Amsterdam Arena, anyone listening, but it is the worst stadium I've ever been to in terms of getting into the ground. It's escalators on the outside, so that means only 2x2 can actually go up to the upper tiers. That means if you've got thousands of fans waiting, it's a 2x2 in. It's an absolute nightmare. So I thought I'd beat the traffic and I left 20 minutes early in that one. Holland went on to win 2-1 and I did miss a goal, so I was quite ashamed. But with Leeds, I try not to leave 5 minutes early. The only time I did leave early was in the 2008 playoff semi-final first leg in League One against Carlisle. It was the -15 season. We'd come back, fought valiantly throughout the year, ended up in the playoffs, playing Carlisle, like I mentioned, and Kieran Westwood had the game of his life. Carlisle were beating us 2-0 going into the 90th minute, and I thought, all that hard work, what a season, it's all for nothing. Me and my dad, we left the ground, headed back to the car. As we were outside the ground, we heard a huge cheer, and it turned out Dougie Freedman had scored what proved to be a pivotal goal It meant we were only 2-1 down going into the second leg. And who can forget Johnny Howson's double away at Carlisle at Brunton Park, and Leeds go through 3-2 on aggregate to Wembley. But we won't talk about what happened there.
Do you think it comes with club size and club expectation? Because we've got to expect Huddersfield, and I covered Huddersfield a lot in my old job, particularly the promotion year, the time in the Premier League, and there was all a great club, a lovely club, lots of great people there, but it did feel that there was that it's just great to be here type thing. You mentioned the Tottenham game where Harry Kane was exceptional that day. I think it finished 4-0 in the end, didn't it? Yeah. And that's kind of fine, but at clubs like Leeds, at Sheffield Wednesday, even Bradford down in League 2, they've hit the heights before. So there's a lot of expectation there, and when it's not going your way, the fuse isn't as long, the fuse is shorter, and you're more willing to kind of not see it out the full 90.
I don't know, I think that for me is just the epitomisation of what it means to be a fickle football fan. And I'll explain why. And again, this is very cliche. I know we try and limit cliches on the Yorkshire Football Podcast.
I'll allow it.
You're only as good as your last game, right? And if you're going to come to the game with the premise that, we should be sitting, comfortably in the playoff spots, or we should be in the Premier League, and as soon as a result, let's say you go like 2-0 down to Luton, if you're a Wednesday fan or whatever, and you're going to leave on that basis, considering that there's a full season ahead of you, or there's still games to be won. I can't see how that provides, the means for it. Or, even if, for a perfect example, so went down to the Carabao Cup on Sunday. Villa fans were in full voice the whole day. You heard City sing twice. And upon, 90 minutes, City have won it 2-1, grinded it out, basically kept possession for the last 25 minutes of the game. Bit underwhelming. Started to see City fans leaving to beat the rush, despite the fact that they were going to lift the trophy for the third time, 3 consecutive seasons. And that's probably a case in point. City fans are tin pot anyway, and I'll say that willingly.
That's big.
Yeah. But
not from Yorkshire, you can say it's fine.
Exactly, it's Lancashire. It's a different region entirely.
Different world.
Exactly.
We're fuming on Lancashire Football Podcast.
If you're not Yorkshire, you're Southern. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. Having said that, fans start to leave early, and it's the same mindset. We've done this third time in a row. Let's beat the rush. Let's go home. Let's not watch our team lift the trophy. There's a sense of pride you've got to have when you go watch your team for 90 minutes. John's case, he's gone to that game on the day, willing to put over 2.5 hours of his time out to go watch that result, right? So that time's blocked out, irrespective. The fact they've gone 3-0 down, okay, fair enough. I can understand the surrounding factors if you wanted to leave, but you've still been willing to give that time for your club on that day. So why not just see it out? Do you know what I mean? And you mentioned Huddersfield and how passionate we were in that season. Yes, it was more of an occasion, but even when it wasn't going as well in the Championship season, we ended up losing quite a few. I think we lost to Burton.
I'll put it this way, right? Imagine you've gone to pictures, yeah?
Right.
You took your last at pictures, and that's maybe Sunday night, you bought some popcorn and that. You've all set up, you're all ready to go. Like, you got your seats, you sat down, it comes on, you've seen credits, you've seen trailers, you're thinking, I'm up for this, yeah, sound. Film comes on, and 5 minutes in, it just goes black, screen goes black, right?
I've turned up to
the draft, you're just all sat around looking at each other, you're thinking, should we go now? And like, what should we do? Would you just sit there for until the film time ended, or just go home?
Yeah, but at least there's nothing to see there. At least
the game will. There's nothing to see at Ilford, mate. I'm telling you,
the game will go on for 90 minutes.
No, mate, there was nothing.
What a silly metaphor.
There was nothing to see at Ilford.
Would you leave the 800 metres of a lap to go if there was a lad who was just miles ahead?
Because he could trip.
He could fall. He could slip over.
Someone could lob a donut at his ankles. And
someone's been saving their energy and just going to get them on the last lap. You wouldn't do it in any other type sport, I think. Football, on the whole, seems to be the only sport where it happens. I can't recall really many other sports where there's such a big debate or in such numbers do people leave games early. You wouldn't leave the 800. I don't really watch athletics. I don't know how many laps that is of the thing, but you wouldn't leave with one lap to go if one lad's miles ahead of everyone.
800 metres only 2 laps.
All right, then 2,400 metres. Is that a race? There you go. One lap of that to go, and lad's so far ahead. You wouldn't leave. You just want to see what happens at the end, surely.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question on this bit. If you go to Brentford this weekend and Wednesday 3-0 down after half hour, are you walking out?
I'd be in Leicester Square by the time second half kicked off.
See, I kind of understand it more from an away perspective than a home.
Yeah.
Because home, you're just going home. You can go home anytime. At least away, you can just go, well, let's go out in London, go pub, go wherever, go M&M World, go tourists, sightseeing for a bit.
Yeah, nah, mate. The days of staying till then, they're gone, mate. Get out, enjoy yourself, go and have a couple of beers, maybe have a cup of tea, Yorkshire tea. Do whatever you want. Don't just sit there being miserable. My missus was happy because I came home. And if I'd stayed at the game for the rest of the match, I'd have come home in an awful mood. By the time I got home, I was in a good mood again. I was all right.
But you must have been in an awful mood to leave early. It's the whole point of doing it.
Yeah, but it was only half an hour, so I could forget about half an hour. It was fine. And I got to drive. I drove home on my own, left my mates at the match, so it was all right.
I can't chomp any further, can I?
I think
I'll be chewing my pint glass in a sec.
I think.
So hang on. Talking to people who actually lost their head at the match. What about Dyer last night?
Oh,
I know this is not Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's not Yorkshire.
This is not
This is
Yorkshire,
interesting.
but this is topical. So we'll talk
have
about
you
Is
it.
ever-
Dyer from Yorkshire?
No,
he's not. Is he?
I know his mum and dad are Evertonians, aren't they?
Ah, okay.
And he went to Portugal.
I'm just thinking. I remember World Cup. There was.
No, he's not one of them.
He's not one of those.
Danny Rose is. And you got obviously Stones.
You got Maguire.
Yeah.
Eric Dyer is from. It doesn't have it on Wiki. Where was he born? Hang on, where's his birthplace? Cheltenham. Nowhere near.
Sack him off.
Next week, Cheltenham.
2 questions then. Have you ever left a game early, and have you ever scaled the seats to try and punch someone?
I've not scaled the ski. To be honest, that sounds like something Mike Holinsky might do.
Based on his story of the goal he celebrated the most last week, where he got kicked out by police, I'd suggest that he's on that. But bizarre circumstances at Tottenham.
Yeah, I think the earliest I've come to, I don't know. It's just half time doesn't count, does it?
So that's early. It's only 50 minutes before I left.
No. I mean, by that I mean you leave the first half early to go in.
That's technically you're not leaving, are you? You're going to go back.
You're still missing bits of the game. I remember we were at home to Leicester, first year of the Prem, and we'd gone in for half time, and it was one of them where, because at Town, not many screens are available to watch the game, so you're pretty stuck without. And I basically decided to hang about and put some brown sauce on my pie for a bit and got in the queue because there aren't many sauce dispensers there. Got back out and we'd scored 1-0, Lauren Deprocher, but this was on 50 minutes as well. That's the closest tin pot. That is the closest.
That's
I've ever
pretty
been to leaving a
unlucky,
game.
I'd say. I'd say that's
more unlucky.
That's unlucky more
But it's
than
not
anything.
willingly leaving a game. The closest example, probably Middlesbrough this season. We're at home and it was 0-0. Honestly, one of the most bitter football games I've ever been to. I was freezing. It's one of them where you see 90 minutes go up, you kind of get out your seat, you're walking up towards the concourse and you're looking back. And when you turn your back, you can hear the final whistle go and everyone getting out of the seats. Probably that's the closest I've been to leaving a game, but nah, not for me.
What are we saying this weekend then?
I was going to say...
Give us a preview, Tom.
Come on.
What's happening?
Where do you want to start this weekend? We'll try and get predictions on that.
Let's start low. Let's start with Bradford in League
Do you want to
Two.
start with Brad? Should we go back to front?
Yeah.
Should we start with Bradford, right? They're away at Salford this one. Mike Holinsky, I believe, is living it up in hospitality.
Do you know what? Both Holinsky and Dom are in separate boxes this weekend.
How's Dom swindled that? Is it that Twitter blue tick? I think
Now
it's
he's
gone
blue
to his
ticked,
head.
mate. He can't get anywhere.
It's gone to his head. What are we saying? This 9th v 10th in League 2. Obviously, Bradford in a significantly better place for playoffs. I don't know. I want to be patriotic to the Yorkshire cause here, but Bradford's away form is not great this season. Saying that, Salford's home form isn't much better either. Bore 0-0 draw. I'm going to sit on the fence.
I don't think Salford do many 0-0 draws though. That's the thing. I've got a feeling that Salford are going to nick this one, but 2-1. Sorry to say, Mike, but you'll be on the beers in the hospitality, so that's fine.
He won't care. He'd have left
I
that
think 2-1 Salford. It seems like I know it's kind of a bit of a weird thing to say, but the state of the pitch last week at home will have been kind of energy stuff. He might have had a week to get over it, but I think 2-1 Salford.
I don't really know, to be honest.
Just guess, mate.
If you look at form, I'm going to go for 1-1, based on the fact that Salford have been a bit hit and miss at home. Bradford have got something to play for after last week. Early punt, though, if you fancy a flutter. Mike Holinsky evens on to be caught on Instagram giving Phil Neville a love bite. at least
there's
at
a
half time.
There's a value, I think, in there. There's potential value.
If he's there chewing prawn sandwiches anyway, he's going to get in the mixer with either Phil or Gary.
Yeah.
Gary probably on broadcasting duty actually.
Yeah.
Lionesses aren't playing, so Phil, Scholesy maybe.
I'm just on Sky Bet now, and 4-6 apparently. Mike Helinski to tell Scholes that he slipped through the net and could have made it as a pro. So I think that sounds like value. That sounds like value.
There's going to be an injury chucked in, I think. Isn't there?
I think so. Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out. We'll try and find out next week what the outcome was from Mike. Into League One then. Rochdale Rotherham, let's start there. Rochdale 3 successive losses now. Rotherham best away side in the division. We've all got to be going Rotherham, surely?
Yes. Rotherham last week, was it a draw against Wimbledon?
Yeah.
Is that right?
MK Dons was last week.
MK Dons, yeah.
Started a big political argument there.
I know, my bad. But yeah,
1-1, yeah. Two successive 1-1 draws now.
The week before was Wimbledon, wasn't it?
Coventry the week before. Wimbledon was 15th of February. That was a 2-2 draw.
Yeah,
It's on the right tracks. There's been so many games recently.
Yeah, I do try and keep abreast of all kind of our teams, how we're doing. I don't have a phone in front of me, unlike Tom. But yeah, you got to fancy Rotherham here. They're a good team. They're one of the top teams in League One. Going away to a Rochdale team out of form, you've got to fancy a 3-0 away win, I think.
Check your scoring first before I
Dos nil.
I'll go 2-1 then to shake it up. Staying in League One, Donny.
Before we move on, did you see the interview with Paul Warne a couple of weeks ago after the fan passed away at the game?
Yes.
It was after that. I kind of I always had a kind of respect for Paul Warne. I thought he's a nice guy. As a manager, I don't know much about him. I know he manages Rotherham and they're doing okay. But after that, I thought, what a good guy. And on the back of that, I kind of really like to see them get promoted now, even if it's just for him. And what a good fella.
Yeah, he's genuinely is one of football's nice guys. Where he used to work was a radio station that had financial issues. Obviously, it laid people off. He texted one of the guys who worked there, who often did Rotherham, just to make sure he was okay and that he'd be all right, and that he did it off his own back once he found out he'd gone under. So that was it. Just shows what a great guy he is. Yeah. MK Dons versus Doncaster, then the other Yorkshire side in Sky Bet League One. Really good win for Doncaster last time out at home to Wickham. They're just a bit patchy, aren't they, this season? They can't really get a run going.
It's like, no cliches, but the only consistent thing about Doncaster is their inconsistency. I know it has Matt Flanners kind of pulling his hair out. They'll win a couple, and you actually think that points difference between them in the playoffs is closing. Can they make it up? And then they'll lose a home game or draw a home game that you think they should win. MK Dons on kind of no great shakes. What are they? Bottom half of the table. Just
18th.
Yeah, so if this is kind of a game that if Donny are going to be serious about mounting a late push, they have to go and win. But I can see this being a score draw. I'd say 1-1, maybe even 2-2.
It's got boring 90 minutes written all over it. 0-0 for me. I can't see that game picking up at any point.
I'll go Donny, sneak it 1-0.
I hope we do. But
grab a late one out of nowhere. Into the Championship then. Brentford, Sheffield Wednesday. John Riley's been very optimistic about Sheffield Wednesday's chances and overall situation during this entire podcast so far, the 50-odd minutes we've done it. Brentford have been a bit weird recently. They've started to drop points. They've kind of fallen out of that automatic promotion race now. Really fighting for a playoff spot at the moment. Is this the game Wednesday turn it round?
And on a high note, John. Come on.
Give us some positivity.
Yeah, do you know what? I am going to... I think Brentford...
He's sweating.
I think Brentford will honestly win 7-0. No.
Winless in 5, Brentford. Winless in 5.
You mopey git.
2-0 up last week. Chuck that away. 2-2. They're not in the best of shapes either at the moment.
Anything better than a 7-0 win is a moral 7-0 win for Brentford, and I will class that as a moral victory for the Owls.
Wow.
But no, in fairness, I just if we can get a draw down there, I'd be over the moon. Even though Brentford are out of form, they came to Hillsborough in December and we beat them 2-1. But for 70 minutes, they were really good. We kind of turned it around with 2 Stephen Fletcher goals. looking back, they were very unfortunate not to win, and given that we are now in kind of such a bad run of form, I can only see a home win. I'm not sure on the betting, but they'll be heavily odds on. I'm guessing they'd be. I was probably surprised if they weren't close to twos on.
4-7, so yeah, pretty close.
There you go, judge. But yeah, anything, a draw or even a win would be amazing. And I'll tell you that now. But my guess would be 3-1 to Brentford.
I'll go 2-0 Brentford. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward.
I don't know. I think Wednesday might get something. It's one of those fixtures you look at when you're putting your racket together the weekend and you think, I might just back the away win there to widen it a little bit. I'm going to go 2-1 Wednesday.
The Championship has taught us that it just any team that's 4-7, 1-2, just not worth backing at all this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this point in the season as well where you just see rogue results fly in left, right and centre. So yeah, 2-1 Wednesday.
Love a bit of optimism. Leeds Huddersfield then. There's going to be a Yorkshire winner in this one, unless it's a draw. Again, Leeds, I was looking at this, Huddersfield in some places 8-9-1 outsiders for this one. Again, Championship's a bit weird, but your head says it's just going to be a 1-2-0 Leeds win. I mean, 4 wins in a row, 4 of which have been clean sheets as well. It should be a fairly comfortable afternoon for Leeds.
Yeah, I think practically speaking, you're probably right there. But that's not to be on the pessimist side of the fence like my friend John here. But I'll stick by my prediction earlier 2-2, and I say that because after last week at Charlton, the fact that it's a big game, we've got such a better squad now than we did earlier on in the season in December, providing it's not long ago. But yeah, I genuinely think we can get something from it. 2-2, high scoring game, end to end. John Riley.
I don't think it'll be high scoring. And just to contradict Gooders, if it is a high scoring game, it's because Leeds have probably run away with it and got 3 or 4 goals in them. I probably agree with your early point. I think 2-0 Leeds. Huddersfield have to kind of really kind of up their game. I know they got a big win last weekend, but Leeds off the back of that win will be going all guns blazing. They'll look to kind of put you out of sight in the first half. If you can stay in the game, say 70th, 80th minute, maybe grab a winner, then that's kind of the way to go. If you try and go toe-to-toe with them, I can always see one winner, and that's Leeds. So my prediction is going to be, I think it's going to be big. I'm going to go 4-1 Leeds.
Ooh.
Hefty.
I'm stuck between 2-0 or 2-1. I think I'll go 2-1. Young Ilhan Meslier is in goal, obviously, with Casillas' ban that came out last week. Played very well at Hull, but eventually Leeds' clean sheet run is going to come to an end, so I'll go 2-1 Leeds. Finally, Barnsley versus Cardiff. Barnsley looked at one point like they might just do the great escape. Still 5 points adrift now. You'd fancy them at home to Cardiff, though, wouldn't you? I think, given Cardiff's recent results.
Yeah, I did back Barnsley away at Reading last week. I thought they were good value to make it 4 wins in a row. They came unstuck, typically. But no, yeah, I think this is, I know it's no cliches, but this could go either way. Cardiff are a solid outfit. Barnsley, apart from last week, were in a good run of form. Yeah, I think I'm just going to, in cases like this, I tend to just edge with the home team. And if I was playing Super 6 or any other prediction game, I'd probably go with a 2-1 home win.
I was going to go 2-1. 1-0 Barnsley, just edge it.
I'm trying not to let my disliking for Neil Harris creep in here, because anything that goes against that chap I'm happy about. I really don't like him.
Hang on, this is a gentleman who survived cancer, raised a lot of money, came back, managed his boyhood, scored a number of goals for his boyhood team, managed his boyhood team. And you dislike him?
I just don't like him very much.
Wow.
I think it's the Mr. Millwall tag.
Oh, yeah.
I think it just carries, like, I've spoke to him a few times, seems a nice enough guy, but you're always going to have that Mr. Millwall tag. Leeds and Millwall are the two clubs that whenever you're just associated with them, people have a general dislike towards you.
Just seeing him in interviews, I'll be perfectly honest, not to backtrack, but I didn't realise he had such a affinity to Millwall and a background story like that. So, yeah, one of them.
So I'll take it on that.
He's moonwalking out of here right now.
Yeah, 4-0 Cardiff. Yeah, I think it'll be a draw. Be a draw that game.
Score draw 0-0. What are we saying?
1-0.
1-1. Right, we'll keep track of that. We're going to... I think Adam Everington's job is to put the predictions together. He does the admin type of thing. I've little interest in it whatsoever in trying to work that out because I'm terrible at maths. So hopefully at the end of the season we'll have quite a nice little prediction league going. But chaps, thank you very much.
Just before we go
on.
As much as I hate them, do you think we should give Sheffield United a little bit of a...
If you want to, yeah.
Obviously, I think
you have to do it though.
No, I don't want to talk about them.
Lead the way.
I just know that like the 1/3 of Sheffield might want to listen to kind of us talk about their team. I think they got an okay win against a poor Reading team in midweek in the cup, and this weekend they are going to. I'm just going to guess here. I think they've got Norwich at home. So, luckily for them, they're going to face a Norwich team who are probably tired after beating Spurs in the cup, gone to penalties. There's a chance that they may win. Who knows? Who cares? But yeah, I'd like to get your boys' opinions because
I quite enjoy the fact you brought this up and then used the line, "Who knows? Who cares?"
Yeah, I just like to. I think
Sheffield United win this weekend. You can't see any other outcome at Bramall Lane. They're in the run for Champions League, for God's sake. Norwich at home, bottom, pretty much already relegated. They're going to be licking their lips at this tie.
Absolutely. Not really much to add there. I think Sheffield United have got everything to build on this season. Again, they won in the week against Reading in the Cup. It's, foregone conclusion there. I think against Norwich, if you looked at the start of the season, that would have been probably a bit of a dogfight. But yeah, they've come leaps and bounds and easy win. Has to be.
I've just got a big shout out to those Norwich fans. I was going to say, where are you? Where to the best fans in the world?
We need a 12th man here.
We need a 12th man. Come on, you Norwich fans.
We'll finish the podcast by mentioning that I know a Norwich fan who went to the game, however was travelling back to Leeds, and because they have late trains from London to Leeds, had to leave before the penalty shootout to get the train back, so completely missed their penalty shootout.
I'd have stayed.
I'm believing.
I would have just got a hotel or something. No way.
I'd have slept on the bench, mate. I'd have been there.
I'm believing early. Conversation comes nicely to an end there with that story.
It does very nice. I was amazed that John Riley brought up to pal praise on the Blades, but yeah, absolutely get in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on your club situation at the moment as well. Also get in touch, let us know any of your kind of topics to talk about. Maybe talk penalty shootout at some point as well, and just how great they are and how great it is to see your team involved in them as well. But guys, thank you very much. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed being drafted in recent weeks. It's been very fun. So yeah, contact us, Facebook, Twitter and that. And we'll be back for episode 6 after hopefully, we can't have it again like last week, but a close enough clean sweep of positive Yorkshire results.
Up the Yorkshire.